Good evening. Farmers in drought-stricken North Otago, encouraged by rain over the weekend, are today cautiously optimistic they may yet get some growth before the winter. The 30 to 40 mils was the most rain recorded in one fall in the area since the drought started a year ago. But because the ground's so dry, farmers say they'll need at least as much again next week for grass and crops to really take off. The National Poison Centre in Dunedin is concerned about people being poisoned by timber offcuts they may be using for wood stoves or barbecues. Cases of poisoning already reported in New Zealand and overseas have proved to be quite severe, as Jim Moore reports.
Many jobs involve some toxic risk. Some of the risks from exposure to chemicals are known. Some are being investigated, for example, long-term exposure to nitrous oxide in a dental surgery. But with literally hundreds of thousands of chemicals being developed each year, it's hard to keep up with them all. In the case of timber treatment, the risks are well known though. While industry safety standards seem satisfactory, it's what can happen to people using the timber for burning that's the problem. If you are using wooden offcuts, what you have to watch out for is timber treated with copper chrome arsenate, which gives it this typically green tinge. In particular, you have to be careful if the wood's wet.
It's not often appreciated, of course, that if you get some offcuts of wood like you've just mentioned and stick it on your barbecue, you're of course going to coat all your sausages or meat, etc., with a coating of copper, chrome and arsenic salts. So, it's potentially hazardous as well. And another example with the ash that's left behind, of course, it will concentrate the amount of copper, chrome, arsenic salts. And we've had a poisoning case in New Zealand of a child ingesting around about a teaspoonful, I guess, of the salts. And overseas, there was one report from a black family in the southern states, United States, who the whole family was poisoned. They had a wood-burning stove in the centre of their house, and they used tantalised wood offcuts right through the winter. And they were quite severely poisoned through just handling the ash.
The National Poison Centre is getting an increasing number of calls from people asking about how to treat poisonings. But they're still disappointed by a survey that showed a huge number of people unaware of their service or not knowing that you can find them in the phone book. It's a telephone call that can save lives.
Otago's annual season of Anniversary Day confusion began today when some businesses and public services celebrated the holiday. Over the years, numerous attempts to get all the parties to agree on one anniversary date have failed. Here's Alan Brady.
This was one of the things you didn't need to do in Dunedin today, though many people did. Parking was free, even though traffic officers were on duty. The City Council offices were open, but the library was closed. Most government departments stayed open, but then what's a government department these days? Post offices were closed. Irritation and confusion reigned.
Stupid day it is too.
Just as it has in previous years, and will presumably next Monday, and on Tuesday the 28th of March, the other two dates on which Otago's Anniversary Day is being celebrated. Today most banks and shops were closed in Dunedin. Primary schools and factories will have their holiday next Monday, and most government departments will tag anniversary on to the end of Easter. About the only organisation which commemorates the exact date of the founding of Otago, March the 23rd, is the one which represents the people who started it all.
Stewart Island tourism was given a shot in the arm at the weekend with the opening of the biggest accommodation complex to be built on the island for 50 years. The 80-bed Shearwater Inn, which was opened by Minister of Tourism Jonathan Hunt, will provide especially for low-budget tourists. Peter Cruikshank reports.
It was the first decent rain the island's seen in months. And when low cloud closed the airstrip, the weather also provided the official guests with an excuse to stay overnight and try out the new accommodation. At the opening, the speakers emphasised the importance of catering for tourists to the island. It's the first new hotel in 50 years and will double the number of tourist beds available on the island. And if the Minister of Tourism's current project works out, Stewart Island could find it hosting a lot more New Zealand visitors.
Aucklanders such as myself are now saying that south of the Bombay Hills is a part of New Zealand where every Aucklander should visit. And indeed, I want to announce today that the major tourism conference that I'm holding in May in Wellington, one of the major themes of that conference and one of the major results will be to challenge every Aucklander next year, in our year of commemoration, to visit other parts of New Zealand.
The new inn's low cost designed to cater for the new breed of tourists who are travelling on a limited budget but expect good facilities. Because it's affiliated to the Youth Hostel Association, it's priced accordingly. The problem of heating such a large building was solved by a coal-fired boiler. It'll use a ton of coal a week, flown in by Southern Air, which is also affiliated to the inn. A feature of the $600,000 building will be a separate restaurant, now nearly complete, which will feature seafoods caught off the island.
The geese, which have made a home for themselves in Dunedin's Anderson's Bay Inlet, have fouled their own nests. The birds have been ranging onto the nearby playing field and fouling it, and the City Health Department has reported to the Parks Department that there is a health risk. The turf on the playing field is being eaten by the geese, and it's feared it'll be further destroyed as winter food supplies dwindle. Council will consider a report on the problem early next month and the possible options of restricting the birds' access to the park or removing them altogether. Southland Polytechnic's become the fastest growing tertiary institute in the country. Statistically, 1 in every 4 Southlanders is currently back in the classroom taking a course through the Polytech. The growth has been so dramatic that a number of courses have had to be held off campus. Peter Cruikshank reports.
It was not many years ago that the Southland Polytech was just another technical college, catering to trade apprentices and clerical needs. Today there are business, computing and university degree courses in addition to the complete range of arts and craft. The prefabs presently used will be replaced soon with a $6 million arts block fronting Tay Street, with an access tunnel underneath to an enclosed courtyard. It should be ready by 1991. But architect and college councillor Peter Baxter says it won't stop there.
We're responding to where we perceive the needs are, but who knows what next year it might be. For instance, at the moment it's in tourism, agriculture, especially in commerce, places like that, areas like that.
You virtually cover most of an entire city block now. Where do you think that will extend to?
Well, we hope to extend further to the east of the main 4th Street block, mainly because we're not keen as a council on crossing a busy road.
With a 20% increase in students each year, the roll's now 1.5 times that of its Otago neighbour. The wide range of subjects being taught no doubt contributes to the increase. Another development is in courses aimed at secondary school students making a transition from school to work, where 5th, 6th and 7th formers learn life skills. In this area, pupils have grown 1,000% in a year.
Oh, I'm fat, I'm ugly, everything's negative.
And that's actually how they see themselves.
But it's changes in the economy which the Southland Polytech's acting director, Alan McIntyre, thinks will determine the Institute's future direction.
The whole restructuring of the economy has taken place, and I think that people are starting to see the value of education and training that's probably being forced upon them.
There's been a lot of growth in the business, craft and communications and hospitality-related areas.
Another large area that's developing are the equity questions, so that we have a lot more Maori students coming to the courses. We're getting quite a lot of interest from women looking in new directions, and also I think in the future disabled people. We have quite a number now, and we're having to look at what we need to do to cater better for them.
Already the campus life appears to be thriving, with an active president of the Students' Association. Willie Nathan's a parent, an ex-fisherman, freezing worker and skin diver. He's typical of the mature student going back to classes to get more out of life.
Righto. Right, thanks. Bye. Willie, would you like to sign these for us, Nathan, for the bank? Oh, yeah. Righty. The other one's okay, we got it yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
What's in line for students this year?
We started off with an orientation and a big barbecue, and now we're hosting an intersports tournament, which is going to involve Otago, Timaru and Christchurch.
But being flexible and quick to respond to changes in society,
That alone will probably determine whether Southland Polytech's enormous growth curve can be maintained.
Now to the temperatures, many of them still on the low side after a chilly weekend. It was 15 degrees and overcast at 3 o'clock in Half Moon Bay. Invercargill was cloudy with 16. The high tomorrow a bit better off, 20 degrees. Gore partly cloudy and 16. Balclutha overcast and 14. It was cloudy in Dunedin and 14 degrees. Gusty nor'westers tomorrow and 26 degrees. Palmerston sunny, 15. Oamaru sunny and 15. Ranfurly 15 degrees, Lumsden 15 degrees. Queenstown was cloudy with 18. It was partly cloudy in Wanaka, the high 21. Sunny in Alexandra and 19 degrees. And finally overcast in Te Anau, but still 20 degrees at 3 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow night. Good night.